There seems to be an awful lot of sad stories in the news today, and there are thousands missing. Does anybody care? We built a channel where we talk about those faces. Talking News with Debbie. Cassie Barnes has still not been found, and it's been 2 years since her case first hit the spotlight. Breaking. Chad Gable and Lily Valley both behind bars. Sarah Galloway was found. She wasn't found alive. What happened to Sarah Galloway?
It's too heartbreaking to share.
Children are still missing. Children like Dorsey. You're in shame. You just got away with it. Welcome to Talking News. Hello everyone. My name is Debbie. We use big stories to push little faces.
Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murderer, Talking News. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you'd like notifications whenever we have new uploads. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Always like the videos, it really helps the channel out, you guys. Also, we're moving ahead now. We're in part 20 of Life Beyond the Grave, the Lori Vallow case. We are finally moving from 2007 into 2008, and we are learning that Lori Vallow is wanting to move with her new husband Charles Vallow to Arizona. Joe Ryan is getting hints about this, and he is not happy about it. Alex Cox is in jail, but he's soon to be released, and Chad Daybell is going he's being hit by the recession pretty hard. I want to share a little bit more background on Alex Cox. So this is according to Tracy, who was on Hidden True Crime, sharing some of her experience with Alex Cox. I believe she knows a little bit more, but maybe afraid to come forward right now. So according to Tracy, she says that Alex Cox talked to several women in South America, Colombia, and that one time he had driven all the way to Colombia to meet just one woman, but she never showed up. Tracy, Alex's friend, says that it seemed that Alex was upset of, the fact that she didn't show up, but he just kind of blew it off. According to Tracy, Alex was speaking with a woman in Colombia as well as her daughter. Tracy says that she felt that he really cared about them genuinely. Tracy believes that there's a possibility that this woman was using him since she ghosted him once he got down there in order to get a few dollars. I found it kind of hilarious since, he should have known better, because there's always something in the paper about men giving money to the women in Colombia, finding out that they're married or they don't live where they think they live. But Tracy insists that she really thought that Alex Cox was very upset about that, but just wouldn't show or any type of emotion or show any thoughts that maybe he might have cared. He would never show his weak side. With that being said, many people believe or suspect that Alex Cox lacked emotions and connection emotionally with people he's involved with, especially those close in his life. In fact, another witness that claims to have dated Alex Cox claims that Alex Cox was a bit of a player. And this is, you have to realize this kind of thing, making trips to Colombia, must cost money. We know that Alex Cox is not much of a career man. In fact, he hops from career jobs, goes back and forth from being a trucker to a comedian and a few other odd jobs. Alex Cox is never in one place for very long, and he never owns a home. He doesn't seem to have responsibilities that most American adults have. But he's not alone. His sister seems to share that likeness. So they both appear to like nice things, but neither earn these things for themselves. Where is this money coming from? Where are these nice things coming from? Well, let's not forget that we are told that Lori somehow supports Alex Cox. Alex Cox is living this chaotic lifestyle. He's quick to do horrible acts for his sister Lori, like attacking Joseph Ryan with a taser gun. Attacks driven by Lori Vallow by Alex Cox start in 2007. How does Lori know for certain that Alex will do these things? Has he had to address family issues in the past? Has he done these things before? And at this time, I've not been able to uncover anything much about Alex Cox's life. He just seems to live in the shadow. But one thing's for certain. He is attacking people for his sister. 2007. So this case shows that it can get very violent early on when media later tries to make it look like this is a sudden thing. Meanwhile, around this timeline, Chad Daybell, Tammy Daybell, they have several children now, and they're raising those children based on their belief system, mainly Chad. One of his children write in a post, for instance, my dad didn't like us watching a certain reality TV show because they took God's name in vain about every other word. So we refrained from viewing it. This was a personal decision that ultimately has blessed our family. Also, around this time, Lori Vallow is vacationing with Joseph Ryan's sister, Annie Cushing. This has always been interesting to me, why Lori, or how Lori understood the fact that Annie would be easy to win over. Because remember, guys, while this is all going on, the custody battle between Tylee Ryan and, for Tylee Ryan, between Lori Vallow and Joseph Ryan, Annie Cushing is going to testify for Lori Vallow. In January of 2008, Melanie Boudreau, or Melanie Cope, has found the love of her life. His name is Brandon Boudreau. I'm not going to go into a lot of details of their early life because it's pretty normal. The only thing you need to know is life between Brandon and his wife Melanie it was completely normal. It's not until Melanie Boudreau actually starts spending more time with her aunt, Lori Vallow, that things start to crumble around this family. During this period of time, Melanie is not hanging out with Lori Vallow that much. In fact, she's more involved with Adam Cox and her grandmother, Janice. Melanie Boudreau loves to goof off. She wrestles guys. She seems like she doesn't fear much. She's quite outgoing, and this is something that you really should probably hang on to because it's such a complete change. If anybody changed after meeting someone, Melanie Boudreau must have been the biggest one. So she's the one that changed the most after getting involved with the Lori Vallow group later on. Now remember, Brandon Boudreau is a Mormon, and so is Melanie. But at this point in Melanie Boudreau's life, she's not that close with her aunt, Lori Vallow. In a later video in 2021 by Justin Lum, he interviews Joseph Ryan's attorney, Taniguchi. And he gives us their side of what it was like to be in Joseph Ryan's shoes during the time that Lori Vallow is preparing to move to Arizona. We are learning that Lori likes to create as much distraction as possible, especially she's beginning to lose. She likes to make people chase her. If she can distract them from one thing, it can lead her to win and wherever she's wanting to win. She believes that jumping state to state will make it difficult for some states to carry out certain justices. So we're learning that Lori Vallow moves to Arizona with her husband Charles, taking Tylee and Colby with her. This is very interesting too from Charles' perspective because his ex-wife Cheryl says that Charles was fighting with everything that he had for the custody of his boys. He was putting a lot of money into the fight, but suddenly he wants to move to Arizona and it all stops. And one thing you learn about Lori Vallow, she will fight everything with everything that she can, creating distractions, chaos, anywhere she goes. But if she decides to change her mind, or she wants to do something that she knows could be difficult to do, she will drop that, everything that she fought so hard for, and move forward suddenly. So Joe had to know if Lori become quiet, something bad was about to happen. Joseph Ryan does everything in his power to prevent Lori Vallow from taking Tylee out of the state of Texas, but he's not able to do so. So instead, Joseph Ryan decides that he's going to move from Texas to Arizona so that he can be closer to his daughter, Tylee. Very interesting, because we know how Joe understands that being around Lori brings trouble. And at this point, he's no longer to play the game that Lori is trying to play. We learned at one point that Joseph Ryan was afraid after being attacked with a taser by Alex Cox, Lori's brother. He actually was going to drop some of the motions that he had in place. But when she decides to take Tylee out of state, he decides that he's going to continue the fight no matter what happens. So remember, guys, how she handles her ex or estranged husbands, the games that she plays with each and every one of them, especially the previous ones. Remember, something similar will show up again in the future. So remember, Joe Ryan, his finances are starting to dwindle from the attorney fees. And Joe's wanting to come to Arizona. He gets in touch with his attorney, Tamaguchi, and he said he let Joseph stay in one of his home before he ultimately moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Tamaguchi says that Tylee was Joseph's whole life, and the fight to raise her drained Joseph mentally and financially. Tamaguchi said that Lori put an obstacle every step of the road during this dispute over the custody over Tylee. Tamaguchi quoted, "Poor Tylee, growing up with that kind of starting from a second year of your life, and you've now been part of the conspiracy to deprive him of the visitation with her. It's just tragic," end quote. As for Colby Ryan, Lori's older son, he isn't happy about leaving Texas, but he says after arriving in Arizona that it was the most stable life he has had so far. According to Colby, at least in his eyes, there weren't custody battles or fighting. It was a normal life with a real family. But he doesn't understand that, the battle is constantly continuing. He just doesn't seem to realize it. Charles Vallow is giving Lori Vallow and her children a very nice lifestyle. They're thriving in Arizona. They have nice homes, nice cars, good jobs, and really good money coming in. During this time, Charles is making a big impression on Lori's parents and siblings. But Charles is learning that the Cox family is a bit different when it comes to socializing. They don't drink, they don't do any recreational type drugs or go to, at their parties. And Charles is really amused by this. So when the Vallows, they'll have family gatherings at their home, they'll have family parties, and everything's perfect according to Colby. Things are calm, and like he said, things seem to be perfect for him. One thing I do notice is when Colby speaks about Charles in a good way, there seems to be a lack of bond and connection to Charles. Colby is growing up in a family where drama is normal and everybody gets involved. One thing I notice about Colby as well is that he doesn't really sweat minimal issues. It's not a big deal. And I believe that Colby does struggle with sharing his emotions. And the one thing that Colby understands at this point in his life is that there's no drama for 5 years. That's what he thinks anyways, and that it's bliss and normalcy for the first time in his life. Colby says that his school year, 8 through 12, was a breeze, and it seems that he was rather happy these years. Now, for Charles' kids, despite the move, Cheryl's sons continue to spend summers with their father and his wife Lori, but the circumstances were very unusual. These families deal with some problems that you have to wonder if they were created by Lori or not. And we'll go over those in time. So this part was interesting to me. During the custody battle over Tylee Ryan between Lori and Joe, there are court documents at some point during this bitter custody battle that Joseph Ryan is required to obtain a $350,000 life insurance policy. This is part of the divorce agreement. So, and then they also named Lori as the beneficiary, guys. I found also in later documents that Joe again is worried about the stress that Tylee Ryan is enduring. Joe Ryan is starting to try to settle in Arizona, but it isn't long, and there's more court filings, more motions, and they're having to do with Tylee Ryan. Joseph Ryan is still trying to be able to spend time with his daughter Tylee, but we find out that the first exchange ordered by the court did not take place. Tylee had not been taken to Leslie Smith for a meeting ordered by the court, and that Miss Bellows seemed to have disappeared. The next meeting over the weekend of February 2nd of 2008, it did occur, although it had originally appeared that Miss Vallow was claiming to live in Arizona. At the last minute, things came together and the meeting with Leslie Smith occurred, and the visitation occurred with the exchange at the kids' exchange. Now, notice the word kids. When Mr. Ryan got to the kids' exchange and picked up Tylee, he and his supervisor, Miss Delansky, noticed right away that they were being followed by a maroon dual-wheeled pickup truck and by a white pickup truck with a toolbox. So Joseph Ryan is having to get smart. He's realizing that he needs witnesses when dealing with his ex-wife, Lori Vallow. So he brings along his supervisor, and they go to pick up Tylee, and he's noticing that he's being followed, guys. You can only imagine, at least I did, that Joseph Ryan must have been scared for his life, knowing that he had been attacked once already. This is one of the things that actually pushed him to call 911 right away when he notices that these vehicles are following him. He is told to go to a public place in Williamson County, and he was advised that the sheriff would arrive to check out the situation. He was instructed to stay in his car with the flashers going. He did that, and an hour later, the Williamson County Sheriff's deputy appeared. Guys, an hour later, my God, and got the license plate numbers of the pursuing vehicles. Now remember, Tylee is in the vehicle with Joseph Ryan, so this is not good for the child either. So Mr. Ryan was released to go home, and during the process he called Sergeant Carter from the Austin Police Department, who had previously been part of the security detail at the kids' exchange when the exchanges were made. Sergeant Carter, told Joseph to go into his house and lock the doors and call the police to report the pursuing team that had showed up to Mr. Ryan's neighborhood, and then they were actually parked around the corner from his house. And at that time, He is instructed to call Williamson County authorities to check on the two pursuers who were parked near his home. He waited in the house and hoped to hear from Williamson County, but they did not call. When it became clear that he needed to get back to the kids' exchange for the return, he again called Sergeant Carter, who told him to wait 20 minutes and then go to the kids' exchange, where Sergeant Carter said he would be available to provide security for the return trip. So Joseph Ryan gets in his car and drives Tylee to where he's supposed to drop her off, so for the kids' exchange. And he had called them and let them know that he would be a little late. Kids Exchange actually fined him $10 for being late, and said that he had plenty of time to work it out. This is really concerning, isn't it, guys? So you see where this guy is spending most of his time that he's supposed to be spending with his child contacting police, and it's taken hours to get any kind of resolution or help. That is completely unacceptable, and it's something that goes on a regular basis. So say you have somebody breaking in your house, you call the police and they'll say, oh, well, we'll send somebody out as soon as we can. So Joseph Ryan is going out of his way to prove to them that it's not him causing the trouble, that it is in fact his ex-wife, Lori Vallow. And no matter how hard he tries, he's the one being fined for being stalked, for being attacked. In the statement, Joseph Ryan goes on to say that the following vehicles were too close and that they frightened the supervisor who was with him. He says that the presence of the he says that the presence and the stalking of him is an interference with his supervisor and an interference with his possession and should be prohibited. It appears that the stalking is likely to continue because it has been claimed to be perfectly legal by Ms. Vallow's counsel. Accordingly, Joseph Ryan requests that the court order that Ms. Vallow and her, little accomplices not be or near the next kids' exchange. Also, he requests that they not even be near his home. So at this point, Joseph Ryan is having to secure services of more attorneys, one of them being J. Terry Weeks. And Joseph Ryan has a suit against Lori Vallow. Joseph Ryan believes that Lori should be responsible for the attorney fees and stuff that he has to pay dealing with the suit. But Colby Ryan seems to think this is a calm time in his life. So I guess at this point, maybe he's not having to go to court because, they decided that Joseph Ryan, they didn't find any evidence of him abusing the kids in a sexual way. And so therefore, she couldn't pursue it any further. So he was able to finally, at what he's meaning by this is he is relaxed because he's not being forced to do something. He's not having to deal with the drama. She has no leverage with Colby Ryan any longer. Joseph Ryan's main concern is to keep Lori Vallow and those that are helping her, there's several people involved here, stalking him. He wants to prevent her from being able to do that while he's visiting with his daughter. He's scared to death, that's obvious, so he's spending all his time trying to find a way for the law to help him. And guess what? There's not much there. And you can see that Lori has been intimidating people and threatening people for a very, very long time. She has history of it. And I don't believe this narrative where they're trying to put all the blame onto Chad Daybell, that suddenly Lori become this monstrous person that's capable of hurting people. No, she's always been that person. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. Don't forget, these girls, they're still missing. You have Jasmine, Kiera, Dulce, Aisha, Suzanne. So many women still continue to be, well, they're not found. Where are they? And where are their stories? Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you would like, you can donate to my Patreon page. That's pretty much all the only way I have for you to donate right now, guys. But yeah, I have a few people that's doing that, and I want to say thank you from the depths of my heart, guys. I really appreciate that. Part 21 coming up soon. See you later.